Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're going to tackle something huge: foreign policy. It's this kind of invisible blueprint that dictates how a nation deals with the rest of the world. And as we're about to see, when it goes wrong, the results can be absolutely catastrophic. Let's kick things off with a pretty chilling warning from US President John F. Kennedy. He said this back in 1961, right after the whole Bay of Pigs invasion fiasco, a total foreign policy disaster that, no joke, pushed the entire world to the brink of nuclear war. So, what exactly was Kennedy getting at? Well, at its very core, foreign policy is all about survival. We're not talking about small stuff here. We're talking about life and death, but on a massive national scale. Okay, to really get a handle on this, we first have to see how it's different from its counterpart, domestic policy. You'll see they play in two completely different leagues with stakes that are just worlds apart. So here's the key difference, right? It all comes down to the consequences. A bad domestic policy, let's say a really unpopular tax hike, might get a government thrown out of office. But the country survives. A mistake in foreign policy, though, that can lead to war, to invasion. It can threaten the very existence of the nation. I mean, just look at what's happening in Ukraine. That's a stark, real-world reminder of what's at stake. All right, so we've established the stakes are incredibly high. Now, let's dig into the one core concept that really drives every single thing a nation does on the world stage. Believe it or not, every single decision in foreign policy, whether it's a trade deal, a military alliance, you name it, it all comes back to this one thing: the national interest. You can think of it as the North Star for every single country out there. And this idea, it was really nailed down by a guy named George Kennan, one of the main architects of America's Cold War strategy. He basically said, look, foreign policy isn't just random chaos. It's the logical, calculated execution of a nation's most vital interests. So what does this golden rule of national interest actually mean in practice? Well, it means that when countries are dealing with each other, it's not really about high-minded ideals. It's about survival. It's about getting an edge. Yeah, exactly. The answer is almost always survival. International relations are a cold, hard calculation. Which alliance is going to make us safer? Which trade deal will make us richer? Morality, it often takes a back seat when a nation's security is on the line. And here's kind of how that calculation works in real time. First, you assess the goal. What do we need? Maybe it's cheap energy. Then you evaluate the options. Okay, who can give it to us? Then, and this is crucial, you analyze the risks. What are the security strings attached to each choice? Finally, you make the call. You pick the path that gives you the biggest benefit with the least amount of risk. It's a constant balancing act. Okay, but what tools does a country actually have in its toolkit to figure out and then chase after that national interest? Because it's not just about what a country wants, it's about the hand it's been dealt, what it has to work with. First up, and this one's huge, geography is destiny. I mean, think about it. If you're a landlocked country surrounded by unstable neighbors, your foreign policy problems are going to be totally different from an island nation with clear sea lanes. Your spot on the map literally dictates your problems and your power. Next up, military strength. A nation's ability to defend itself or to project its power fundamentally changes every single diplomatic conversation. Let's be real, the tone of any negotiation changes when one side has a much, much bigger army. And you can see this in action right here. Take a look at these global military rankings. Now remember, a lower number means you're more powerful. So with India ranked 3rd and Pakistan 7th, you can see how their relative strength completely shapes the power dynamics of the region. And of course, their relationship with neighbors like Bangladesh, which comes in at 17th. Then there are economic ties. This is a massive factor. Your trading partners are your lifelines, but they can also be your biggest vulnerabilities. You can't just cut ties with a country that buys half your stuff, even if they're a rival, without seriously hurting your own people. And finally, don't forget about things like shared ideology or religion. Having common beliefs can be a super powerful tool in diplomacy. It can build trust and open doors for cooperation that just wouldn't exist otherwise. Okay, quick clarification, because this is a point where people often get mixed up. We've talked a lot about the what and the why of a country's actions, but what about the how? This is where we need to separate the plan from the execution. Here's the easiest way to think about it. Foreign policy is the goal. It's the big picture strategic plan. Diplomacy, on the other hand, is the method.
It's the art of negotiation, the actual talking and dealing you do to try and reach that goal.
And there's this fantastic quote, often attributed to Winston Churchill, that just perfectly nails what skilled diplomacy is all about.
All right, theory is great, but let's see how all this plays out in the real world. We're going to use a case study, the incredibly critical early years of Bangladesh's foreign policy, right after it became a nation.
So picture this. It's 1971, and the brand new nation of Bangladesh is born. Right out of the gate, it's facing three massive, immediate foreign policy challenges. And I mean, each one of these was an existential threat, absolutely critical to its survival as an independent country. And what's just incredible is how quickly the new government tackled these. Through some really skillful diplomacy, always focused squarely on that national interest we talked about, they managed to achieve all these critical goals in less than 3 years. That's what cemented their place on the world map. Just 3 years to solve 3 existential challenges. And it all happened because of a foreign policy that was laser-focused on one single thing: securing the national interest and ensuring the nation's survival. So let me leave you with this question. If you accept that foreign policy is really just a nation's logical, calculated pursuit of its own interests, how does that change the way you look at the global news? How does it change the way you see alliances and conflicts playing out today? Once you start looking for the national interest behind the headlines, you start to see the world in a whole new light.